Getting Past No by William Ury. Host. Picture a tense Thursday morning in Brooklyn. Kings County Hospital has turned into a scene straight out of a movie. Police cars everywhere, red and blue lights dancing across the walls. Down in a cramped basement locker room, an armed robber named Larry Van Dyke is holding 5 hospital workers hostage. He's trapped, he's desperate, and yes, he's armed. He'd already shot a corrections officer trying to escape. Now, with his back against the wall, he sends out a chilling ultimatum. I want out of here, or I'm going to start killing people. 10 years earlier, you know how this would have ended, right? Tear gas, bullhorns, a SWAT team crashing through the doors. But on this particular day, the NYPD tried something radically different. Instead of sending in the cavalry, they sent in one man with nothing but his words. Detective Robert Loudon walks up to that locked door. No shouting, no threats. He just calls out, "How you doing? My name's Bob, and I'm here to see what's going on. I'm here to help sort this out." Van Dyke fires back with pure desperation. "I've got nothing to lose. I'm not going back to jail. You've got 30 minutes to give me my freedom." So what would you do? You've got an impossible demand, someone who won't budge, and a clock ticking down. Every fiber of your being wants to argue, to say that's not happening, to meet his aggression with your own. But Detective Loudon does something completely unexpected. He's playing an entirely different game, one designed not to win a fight, but to win over a human being. Welcome to the world of Getting Past Number. This is where the most powerful moves are often the ones that make no sense at first. The author, William Ury, helped found the Harvard program on negotiation and co-wrote the legendary Getting to Yes. After that book took off, people kept asking him the same thing. That's great when everyone's reasonable, but what about when they're not? What if they're angry, impossible, totally unwilling to cooperate? What do I do when they just say no? This is his answer. And it's not just for boardroom negotiations. This is for handling the toughest conversations in your life, with a stubborn parent, an unreasonable boss, a defiant teenager, or even an armed man in a basement. By the end of today, you'll have the 5-step strategy that hostage negotiators, world-class diplomats, and master deal-makers use to break through walls, cool down heated situations, and turn adversaries into allies. This isn't about winning arguments. It's about learning not to argue at all and still getting what you want. So let's dive in and discover how to get past no. Ever been stuck in one of those circular arguments? Maybe with your parents about staying out late or a friend over some misunderstanding. You say your piece. They say theirs. You repeat yourself just a bit louder. They dig in deeper. Soon you're not even discussing the problem anymore. You're just attacking each other. It feels like you've got 2 options. Be soft to keep the peace, but give up what you want. Or be tough to win your point, but trash the relationship. William Ury says that's a false choice. There's a third way: joint problem solving. It's gentle on people, tough on problems. Instead of squaring off across the table, you mentally shift to the same side, shoulder to shoulder, facing the problem together. Sounds great, right? But what happens when the other person won't play along? When they're emotional, dug in, and see you as the enemy? That's where Ury's 5-step breakthrough strategy comes in, and it starts not with them, but with you. Step 1. Don't react. Go to the balcony. The biggest mistake we make in tough negotiations is reacting without thinking. Ury calls us reaction machines. Someone attacks, we attack back. They take an extreme position, we take one too. They pressure us, we either push back or collapse. Imagine a senior manager who's developed an amazing new information system. He needs all the plant managers on board. Everyone agrees except the manager of the biggest plant, who says, "I don't want your people messing around in my business. I can handle it myself." Frustrated, the The systems manager threatens to go to the company president. Of course, this only makes the plant manager angrier. The appeal backfires. The president refuses to get involved, and the brilliant system dies. The manager reacted, and he lost. Ury gives us a powerful image to break this cycle. Go to the balcony. Picture your negotiation happening on a stage. When you feel that knot in your stomach, that surge of anger, that urge to snap back, that's your cue. Mentally step up to a balcony overlooking everything. From up there, you see it all clearly. You see your opponent playing their part, but you also see yourself playing yours. You see the whole dance of action and reaction. You see what's really happening. From the balcony, you regain your balance and remember what truly matters. The goal isn't revenge, it's getting what you want. The prize is a good agreement. Going to the balcony gives you that crucial pause, a breath, a chance to override your destructive impulse. It's the first and most important step, because if you can't control yourself, you have zero chance of influencing them. It's when you stop being a reaction machine and start being a strategist. Once you're on the balcony, calm and focused, you're ready for the next move. You've handled your emotions. Now it's time to handle theirs. Step 2. Don't argue. Step to their side. You're calm now. Ready for a logical, productive conversation. But they're still emotional. Angry, suspicious, defensive. Their ears are closed. If you try reasoning with them now, your words will just bounce off. Before you can discuss the problem, you need to disarm the person. How? With surprise. They expect you to argue, to resist, to push back. So you do the exact opposite. You step to their side. This isn't agreeing with them. It's seeing things from their perspective. Ury breaks this down into 3 powerful actions. Listen, acknowledge, and agree. First, listen. Really listen. Most of the time, we don't actually listen. We're just reloading, waiting for our turn. Ury calls this a dialogue of the deaf. But when you truly hear someone, you give them the cheapest concession possible. You satisfy a deep human need, the need to be understood. Let them vent. Don't interrupt. Let them tell their whole story. When they're done, ask if there's more. Then prove you heard them by paraphrasing, so if I understand correctly, you feel that. This simple act can be transformational. It takes the wind out of their sails, shows respect, and makes them more willing to hear you. Second, acknowledge. After listening, acknowledge their point. You're not agreeing with it. You're recognizing it as valid from their perspective. You might say, I can see why you'd feel that way. Or, you have a point. Or, if I were in your shoes, I'd probably see it the same way. You also need to acknowledge their feelings. Behind an attack is often anger. Behind a stone wall is often fear. So say, I understand why you're frustrated. Or, I can see how this would be upsetting. You're not saying the anger is justified, just that it exists. This validation alone helps diffuse emotion and clear the way for reason. Sometimes the most powerful acknowledgement is an apology. Even if you're only 10% responsible, apologize for your 10%. It's a disarming gesture that can kickstart reconciliation. Third, agree. Wherever you can, agree. You don't have to concede anything, just find common ground. One senator told his staff, if someone says something you disagree with, 99%, I want you to say, I agree with you, and focus on the 1% of agreement. A powerful trick here, replace but with and. If a client says, your price is too high, don't say, but the quality is excellent. That but erases everything before it. Instead, say, yes, our price is higher, and what that gives you is superior quality and reliability. It frames your view as an addition, not a contradiction. By stepping to their side, listening, acknowledging, agreeing, you do something remarkable. You break down the wall. You show respect. It's disorienting for them. They came ready for battle, and you invited them to a conversation. They start thinking, this person actually gets me. Maybe I can work with them. That's the opening you've been waiting for. Now you're ready to change the game. Step 3. Don't reject. Reframe. You've created a better atmosphere, but they're still stuck on their position. I won't accept anything less than a 10% budget cut. You need to be home by 11 p.m., no exceptions. The temptation is to reject their position and state yours. A 10% cut is impossible. 11 p.m. is totally unfair. This drags you right back into attack and defend mode. The breakthrough move? Don't reject their position. Accept it as a starting point. Then reframe it. Reframing is like putting a new frame around a picture. You don't change the picture, but you change how it's seen. You take their hardline stance and treat it as an interesting contribution to a problem you both need to solve. Your secret weapon is the problem-solving question. Instead of saying, "We can't do a 10% cut," you ask why. You might say, "That's an interesting target. Help me understand what concerns led you to that number. What problem are we trying to solve?" The moment they start explaining their reasons, the conversation shifts from positions to underlying interests. You've changed the game. If why feels too direct, try why not. Propose something different and ask what would be wrong with this approach. People love to critique, and in explaining why your idea won't work, they reveal their real concerns. One of the most powerful tools is the what-if question. What if we stretch the project timeline so some costs fall into next year's budget? What if we found savings in another area? What-if questions are magic. They transform a deadlock into a brainstorming session. You're suddenly exploring options together. Perhaps the most disarming technique is asking for advice. That's what young Senator Joe Biden did in 1979 when meeting veteran Soviet Foreign Minister Andrei Gromyko. Gromyko gave a long, powerful speech on why the SALT II Arms Treaty should be ratified without changes. His position was an unequivocal no. Instead of arguing, Biden reframed everything. He said, "Mr. Gromyko, you make a very persuasive case. But when I go back to the Senate, my colleagues will have concerns. You have more experience in these matters than anyone. How would you advise me to respond to their concerns?" Gromyko, flattered, couldn't resist. He started wrestling with the very problems he'd just dismissed. By asking for advice, Biden turned an adversary into a consultant. He reframed the negotiation as a joint effort to solve his problem, getting the treaty ratified. In the end, Gromyko changed his mind and agreed to the amendment. By reframing, you redirect their energy. Instead of using it to resist you, you channel it toward solving the problem. You take their rigid stance and use it to uncover interests. You've moved from a tug-of-war to creative collaboration. Step 4. Don't push. Build them a golden bridge. So you've managed your reaction, disarmed their emotions, and reframed the game. You're ready to reach an agreement. But they still hesitate. They're stalling. Why? Ury identifies 4 common obstacles. 1. It's not their idea. They may reject it simply because it came from you. 2. There are unmet interests. You might have overlooked a key concern, often emotional. 3. They fear losing face. Nobody wants to look like they back down. 4. The decision feels too big, too fast. It's just easier to say no. When faced with this resistance, our instinct is to push, to insist, to pressure. This is a great deal, you should take it. But pushing makes it worse. It emphasizes that it's your idea, ignores their needs, and makes agreeing feel like weakness. So once again, you do the opposite. Instead of pushing them toward a solution, you draw them in. As ancient strategist Sun Tzu said, you, quote, build your opponent a golden bridge to retreat across. Think about young Steven Spielberg. Around 13, a bully made his life miserable, day after day, bloody noses and humiliation. He couldn't beat him physically, so he tried something different. He went to the bully and said, I'm making a movie about fighting Nazis, and I want you to play the war hero. The bully laughed at first, then agreed. Spielberg made him the squad leader, gave him a helmet and costume. After that, the bully became his best friend. Spielberg built a golden bridge. He understood the bully had an unmet need. to feel important. By offering him a way to be a hero instead of a villain, he allowed him to change without losing face. He made it easy to say yes. How do you build a golden bridge in your negotiations? First, involve them. Don't present a finished solution. Ask for their ideas. Build on what they say. Critique ideas together. Let them leave fingerprints all over the proposal. When they feel ownership, it becomes their idea too. Second, satisfy their unmet interests. Look beyond obvious demands for money or terms. What are the underlying human needs? Security? Recognition? Belonging? Control? A business owner might refuse to sell not because the price is too low, but because the business is his baby, and he fears losing his identity. Making him president of a joint venture could satisfy his need for autonomy and unlock a deal money alone couldn't. Third, help them save face. Think about how they'll explain this agreement to their boss, family, or friends. Help them write their victory speech. Frame the agreement so they look good. Maybe circumstances changed, making their old position obsolete. Maybe you can point to a fair standard, like market rates, so it doesn't look like they gave in to you but to what was fair. Give them credit, even if it was your idea. As they say in DC, there's no limit to what you can accomplish if you don't care who gets the credit. Finally, go slow to go fast. Make the process easy. Break big decisions into smaller, manageable steps. Start with the easiest issues to build momentum. If they're skeptical, propose a trial period. Don't rush them. Guide them across the bridge, one step at a time. Building a golden bridge is about making yes the path of least resistance. It's creating a solution that's not only good for you, but attractive and honorable for them. But what if, after all this, they still refuse? What if they still think they can win by force? Step 5. Don't escalate. Use power to educate. This is the final barrier. Your opponent sees negotiation as win-lose, and they're determined to win. They believe their alternative, what Ury calls their BATNA best alternative to a negotiated agreement, is better than your golden bridge. Now you might feel you have no choice but to escalate, to fight fire with fire, to force them to submit. But this creates what Ury calls the power paradox. The harder you make it for them to say no, the harder you also make it for them to say yes. Coercion breeds resistance. A battle for victory often ends lose for everyone. The breakthrough approach is to use power not to defeat them, but to educate them. Your goal is to bring them to their senses, not to their knees. Show them clearly and calmly that their best option isn't fighting, but negotiating. How? First, ask reality-testing questions. Let them teach themselves. When Chrysler was near bankruptcy, President Lee Iacocca went to Congress for a loan guarantee. Many lawmakers were opposed. Instead of arguing, Iacocca educated them with questions. Would this country really be better off if Chrysler folded and unemployment jumped another 0.5% overnight? Do you want to pay $2.7 billion now in unemployment and welfare, or guarantee half that with a good chance of getting it back? He was essentially asking, do you prefer the consequences of no agreement, or would you like to cross the golden bridge? Faced with reality, Congress approved the loan. Ask questions like, what do you think will happen if we don't agree? What do you expect me to do if we can't reach a deal? You could take this to court, but what will that cost you in time and money? Second, warn, don't threaten. A threat is personal. If you don't agree, I'll sue you. A warning is objective. If we can't reach an agreement, I'm afraid this will inevitably end up in court. I'd much rather we find a solution ourselves. A threat is about what you'll do to them. A warning is about what will happen as a consequence. It depersonalizes power, making it easier to accept without feeling defeated. Third, demonstrate your BATNA. If your alternative is striking, workers might wear black armbands, a powerful symbol of resolve without the cost of an actual strike. Show, don't just tell. Make your power credible. Finally, if you must use your batna, use minimum force. Your goal is only to bring them back to the table. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, President Kennedy chose a naval blockade, limited power, instead of an immediate airstrike. He showed restraint to avoid all-out war. Just enough power to make negotiation the most attractive option. Throughout this process, keep the golden bridge visible. You're not cornering them. You're convincing them the only viable way out is the one you've built together. You're sharpening their choice, making the consequences of no agreement clearer and the benefits of agreement more compelling, until they choose on their own to cross. This brings us full circle. The 5 steps: going to the balcony, stepping to their side, reframing, building a golden bridge, and using power to educate, aren't just a linear process, they're a symphony. You're constantly on the balcony, managing reactions, always ready to step to their side when emotions flare. It's a continuous dance of empathy and assertion. Ury concludes with a beautiful story about a man who left 17 camels to his 3 sons. The will stated the eldest should get half, the middle son a third, and the youngest a ninth. The sons were stumped. How do you divide 17 by 2, 3, or 9? They argued and despaired. Finally, they consulted a wise old woman. She thought for a moment and said, "See what happens if you take my camel." So they did. Now, with 18 camels, the eldest took his half, 9. The middle son took his third, 6. The youngest took his ninth, 2. 9 plus 6 plus 2 equals 17. 1 camel left over. They gave it back to the wise old woman. In our toughest negotiations, we're like those sons, stuck with 17 camels. We can't see a way forward. The breakthrough strategy is that 18th camel. It's the outside perspective, the creative addition that lets you solve what seemed impossible. It's the art of stepping back, looking from a new angle, and finding a way to not just divide the pie but expand it, so everyone gets what they need, and you can give back the extra camel. When you really absorb getting past no, you realize it's so much more than a negotiation book. It's a guide to human interaction, a philosophy for navigating conflict itself. The most profound lesson for me is that the key to persuading others lies not in the force of your arguments, but in your ability to understand and influence the environment where they make decisions. You can't force someone to change their mind, but you can create conditions where they choose to change it themselves. That's a fundamental shift. It moves you from combatant to architect, an architect of process and solution. In a world that seems increasingly polarized, where social media rewards the loudest and most aggressive voices, Ury's message of strategic empathy feels more urgent than ever. We're conditioned to meet aggression with aggression, to shout down opposing views, to treat disagreement as a battle. This book is a powerful antidote. It teaches that true strength lies not in overpowering your opponent, but in winning them over. The go-to-the-balcony metaphor alone is worth everything. It's a mental tool for any high-stakes situation. That moment of pause, of detaching from raw emotion, that's where wisdom begins. It's the space between stimulus and response, and in that space lies your power to choose a better path. So how can you start using this right now? Here are 3 simple actions. First, practice the balcony pause. The very next time you feel that flash of anger or frustration, whether with family, a teacher, or a friend, just stop. Before you speak, take 1 deep breath and ask yourself, what do I really want to achieve here? That single question is your first step to the balcony. It can change the entire conversation. Second, hunt for "but" this week. Every time you're about to say it when disagreeing, consciously replace it with "and." Instead of, "I understand your point, but I think you're wrong," try, "I understand your point and I see it a little differently." Feel the shift. It's no longer confrontation. It's contribution. Third, ask 1 advice question. Next time you're facing resistance from someone in authority, try asking for their advice. Instead of demanding a different outcome, say, "I'm facing a real challenge here, and given your experience, I was hoping you could offer some advice on how I should proceed." It's disarming, respectful, and can transform an adversary into a mentor. At the end of the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln was criticized for speaking of Southern rebels with sympathy. A woman told him he should be thinking of destroying his enemies. Lincoln's reply perfectly summarizes this book's philosophy. "Why, madam, do I not destroy my enemies when I make them my friends?" That's the true power of getting past no. It's not about defeating the person across the table. It's about defeating the problem and, in the process, turning an opponent into a partner. That was the summary of Getting Past No by William Ury. We've touched on the core strategies today, but honestly, a summary can only be a map. The real treasure comes when you take the journey yourself. The magic happens in those quiet reading moments, when a particular story or phrase connects with your own life in unexpected ways. This summary is designed to help you decide if this book is worth the journey. If anything we've talked about today sparked curiosity, I encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning tactics. It's an experience that can genuinely change how you navigate the world and the people in it. Also, if you found this summary valuable and want to keep exploring ideas from the world's most influential books, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe. It lets me know this work is making a difference and ensures you won't miss our next journey into another life-changing book. Let's keep growing together.